Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before I do get into this storyline, I know I've talked about a few ideas about this storyline, if not some quite similar. But this one I found interesting because I thought about it, and I realized changing a few things around messes with the timeline quite a bit. Now, number one, All Might and All For One have their battle sometime around a decade before even the start of MHA, which means somewhere at the very most, Deku would have been 3 or 4 years old. So, what happens if that battle takes place years earlier? If not, probably even decades earlier. Now, that is a very interesting question to try and answer. Obviously, there's the point in the timeline where Nana and All For One, or Nana and Toshi, All Might, they would have fought before in the past, and that was somewhere around the time where he was fresh starting out as a hero. But that would have been where he was somewhere in his 20s, and he, in story, is currently somewhere in his 50s. Now, let's go ahead and meet halfway there. Somewhere around 16, say 17 years ago. If not, maybe, let's just say a good 2 decades. Now, this does mean quite a bit. Now, 2 decades ago, All Might managed to take out All For One. And that certainly does mean quite a bit. All For One remembers one thing and one thing only. Clear as day. It was a battle. Things got hazy. He turned his head after he fired his quirk at somebody. And then all he saw was the fist coming at him. That was it. That was one of the only things he can remember clear as day. Perfectly. The next thing he knew, everything went dark, and the last thing he heard was a crack. A resounding crack. And then it was dark. There was a light, and, well, here he currently is. Right now, him raising his tiny hands into the air. And Shigaraki has a lot of things going through his mind. The doctor talked about a lot of strange possibilities with quirks, but if this is an aspect of his, it would have been nice to know. He's an infant, just reborn and given the name of Zuko Midoriya, son of the woman Inko Midoriya. He saw it whenever he saw her wristband. That's weird. He knows how to read, but those letters seem kind of hazy. Not even just that, but he's in a hospital. He's a fucking child again. He hasn't been one for the better part of his life. This is a different start, though. An odd start. How long has it been? How many years has it been? That's an odd question. He doesn't know the year just yet. Or if he even still has his own damn abilities. I know him staring at the ceiling and wondering about it. If he has his abilities, he can start new. Figure something out and see what he can do. Though if he's been born about a century or two later and people are still running on superpowers, that fucking changes things. Does he even still... No, his quirk. He's not sure. Him trying to close his eyes. Finding it a bit difficult, but doing so. And he does try to internalize. Search out for All For One. The ability he knows he had. But it's gone. He can't feel it. He feels something there. Definitely a quirk, but it doesn't have the same texture, the same feel to all for one. Shit. This is bad. If it's been long enough, the doctor. No, his longevity. Could he have lasted that long? No, he couldn't have. If this is just a few years. No, not even just a few years. A few decades. Then there's a chance he's still alive. If it's anywhere over 5 decades, though, that's where he's going to start having a problem. Either that bastard went senile, or he kicked the bucket far too early than he would have expected. God. He better have trained someone in his place if he's... Ugh. Years of planning out the window. All of it out the fucking window. And that thought does somewhat aggravate him. Though there is where he is taken home later by Inko and Hisashi. Right now, both of them asking a bit of questions about their child. And even the nurses are a bit confused. Most newborns act a certain way. There's a strong possibility he may have been born with an intelligence quirk. From the reactions they're seeing, I mean, there are signs of intelligence, far more than there should be in this baby, but it might be a few years before they can get that confirmed. Though, if they do run their initial tests, then they'll know whether or not he has a quirk or not. Or if something else may have happened, since that quirk doesn't fit with the family. And some whispers might be going around the hospital. A little bit of gossip that they want to get out. Now, Deku, he does start to grow. But as he does start to grow into himself, this new identity, a loving, caring family, a mother who does want the best for him, he is quite intrigued. After he does learn the year, he learns that he was dead for a few of them. It's not that bad. It's not really that bad at all. He got extremely lucky. He failed to kill All Might, but now he's just going to try and plan things out. Figure that out more. Learn what quirk he has and start planning from there. Making contact with the doctor is still years off. But if it can be done, then it needs to be done. He just needs to call the... That's not good. He had ways of contacting the doctor. Dr. Ujiko. He'll have to contact his direct office, but that can come with problems, especially at the hospital he works at. He'll give it some time. Let things die down and wait until his body can be more cooperative. Perhaps try to find a better time to do this? Yes, that might be the best time. And right now, there is a few years later. He is currently around the age of 5 years old. And whenever he is taken to the quirk doctor, he's still quite intrigued about a few things. He's learned his superpower. He has pyrokinesis, a very interesting form of a quirk. He seems to be very proficient with his power, and Konosashi believe their son could be a prodigy, and even might one day be a hero. Nah, he's not going to do that. Right now, all for one, he does head to the doctor's office. And whenever he does go strolling into the room and the doctor does come into the office, he does get a freeze. Right now staring directly at Dr. Ujiko himself. And the old man, he does a somewhat turn looking at Deku. seeing a strange look on his face before he does get a turn back to Inko, trying to talk about some of the tests they have been running on him. And Deku, he is trying to think of the best way to talk to the doctor. Try and get into contact? Say anything? How could he mention any of the projects without compromising everything? Either sounding like someone this guy might need to kill, or shit. That's another thing. Right now, him having that thought, he's talking to Inko, the woman who's his mother. No, she is his mother. He wishes that old crone was as kind as her. Anyways, how is he going to do this? Hand him something? Maybe? Or ask about a certain test? Maybe. No, he's not a personal care physician. He's a quirk doctor. Try and stay back and ask about questions, or ask about different abilities and quirks. Random questions, stupid questions. He might be able to get away with them. And that is exactly what he does. He's a bit quiet, Inko has noticed. She's a little worried about him, but Deku does know a lot about superpowers. A lot about quirks. He's very thorough and thoughtful when it comes to certain abilities. Even staring at other people use theirs and wondering a lot about their own. It's quite an interesting thing, but she is a little worried for Izuku. Something about the way he acts just seems odd. Then again, what parent doesn't think their kids aren't odd? It might just be her making it up. And the doctor, he does kind of understand. Though whenever he does start talking about a few things about other potential abilities and how they have different aspects of their own potential powers, Inko does bring a few things up her son has mentioned. And one of those things does kind of catch him off guard. Exactly how his quirk may progress. What aspects he might find useful, or exactly if there's other aspects of his power he doesn't know about. And he does a turn looking at the young kid, quite intrigued. He has a good mind, good ideas. If he has as much control as he thinks, he could be an interesting project. And Inko does get a turn looking at her phone. Deku glancing at that before Deku does look directly at the doctor, mouthing the words, "all for one, factor." And the doctor does as one stare at that, blinking for a second and being quite surprised. As Deku does go to hold his hands up to his head, letting out a explosion motion by going to throw his hands to the side of his head and let out a massive boom sound, making it with his mouth. And the doctor does still glare at the kid, not sure what he's doing. Before Deku does mimic putting a hand to his face and going to pull something out of a person. And the doctor still does stare on, not sure what he's seeing. How does a kid know about All for One? How does he know anything about that? Psychic, perhaps? That could be a problem. And Deku does stare at the doctor before he does mimic test for factors for All for One. The doctor's surprised, especially whenever Deku does mouth the words, "he is Shigaraki," pointing at himself. And the doctor does fix him with a stare. Deku staring him right back as Inko does turn back to her son. And Deku's face does go to lighten. Her talking about it. It does seem like there's quite a lot of things going on, and Well, they've got a few errands to run today. But she thinks that that should cover it all. He has a quirk, and, well, it's all fine then, right? Yes, Miss Midoriya, it is. However, him writing a number down and handing over a card, expressing, with certain psychic type abilities, such as pyrokinesis or even telekinesis, quirks connected to mental strain. There may be certain circumstances or times where the mind can be affected negatively and or possibly harmed. If something like that does happen, please call him back and they can do a quirk study. Potentially see what they can do. If she believes him to be harmed mentally or even take a physical blow to the head, they can do an x-ray. See where a baseline is and then talk about quirk activation and how that may affect his mental state. And or see if it is causing any further damage. And she does get a nod, well aware of part of that fact, but she didn't know it extended outward from certain psychic-based abilities. And this the doctor does go to turn to Deku and glare at. Him going to somewhat untense his body as the doctor does notice this. And they do go to leave. And there is a bit of time later. When Inko and Deku do finally arrive home, Deku, he does give it a little bit of time. The doctor's expecting a phone call. And that is it. He's waited years for this. He can wait a few more hours. And those hours do painstakingly go by. As by the time it's close to bed and Inko does get to hop in the shower to get ready, Deku does get to take her phone. Him making it over and pulling the card from her purse before he does get a call. And it does go to be picked up on the other end as the doctor's voice can be heard. Start talking. How and what do you know? Are you psychic? Hello, doctor. It's been quite a few years. My lifetime, I guess. We do want to put it in such theatrics. You claim to be Shigaraki. How do I know that's not a lie? You don't. I don't know what to tell you, doctor. The last thing I remember is Nana Shimura and All Might fighting me. All I remember is All Might charged me. I blasted Nana, and then I turn. I see All Might, and then I see his fist. I hear a crack and a pop, and then I find the light at the end of the tunnel, and as it turns out, I'm back in a new body. Now, about my test results. I'm assuming I don't have the factors for All for One, or are you still scouting hospitals for possible projects? Did you still decide whether or not you wanted to turn your grandson into a Nomo? Interesting. No, I've not yet reached that conclusion, but you think I would. Would you not? It is for a cause you believe in. Everyone still thinks you're crazy, don't they? I've been looking a little bit into you, and nothing much has changed. Still scouting, still doing a lot. The only differences I find is All Might retired years ago. And that is aggravating to me. I have my powers locked away from me. But if I do have the factors proper, then I believe we can go forward with the plan. Do you not agree? I see. What was the last thing you said to me before you died? Your power shouldn't work over the phone like this. Simple. I told you that I would crush those two. That I would make sure to get One for All back. And that I would make sure Nana is turned into our next project. Is Shigaraki still in play, or have you not yet given him that quirk? I know we were still workshopping quite a few things, but things seem to have been delayed and changed quite a bit. You were still doing much. Doctor, it really is you. But how is this even possible? This is defying logic. It's defying all known reason. I don't understand. Doctor. Yes? Yes, I see. Well, I looked through your information. I do tend to run tests on quite a few interesting individuals, and I was lucky enough that you were one of them. You have the proper factors, but I'm not sure. 6 and 9 are the only other two who've met those requirements that I've been able to work on. Their copies of the quirk are weaker, but I should be able to get something done with the materials I have. It's not going to be easy, you understand. I understand, Doctor. We've got all the time in this lifetime. Though hopefully, if we can, then I'll be able to do what I need to. My grand return will be quite more grand than people will believe. Do you think that you'll be able to live that long? Fear not. I believe I've got quite a few more decades in me, but I'll have to make them last. Good. I know by the time I plan to make my move, I want to make sure to take out everything. If some plans of mine can't be done properly, I'll just start from scratch. Find All Might and find out where he retired to. I doubt he'd be expecting me. Just walk right up to the door when he opens it, shoot him in the fucking face. I see. Quite a simple plan. Would it work, though? If I workshop it properly, then it'll just be as simple as that. Hopefully, however, something happens to him before then. That quirk gave me too much trouble for one lifetime. Perhaps it is time to change a few things. I have to go, Doctor. I'll have to maintain cover, but whenever I can, I will try to reach out. I understand. I can start getting things into play, but it will take time. We have time, Doctor. Him going to hang up the phone. And Ujiko doesn't set his down. Just trying to go through it in his mind. The boss is alive. The boss somehow, he's got so much he's need to research. My God. This changes everything. That on his mind. Him turning to a glass and filling it quite high with something strong. Now, that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next mini shot.